Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we are going to be discussing the very important levels of resistance that Bitcoin currently finds itself under, because in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how exactly Bitcoin could potentially restart a new uptrend having to do with some news that we have had come out as Q2 has come to a wrap. As you guys have seen in the headline, there are over 5 million new jobs being added in America, which is strange considering the global economic situation right now. So we're going to be diving into what that claim means, because many news articles and news sites are talking about, 4.8 million jobs have come back, but that's a little bit disingenuous. So we'll be discussing that later on in today's video as well. Guys, we're going to be doing market analysis and fundamental analysis on Bitcoin and the global economy. I think you're going to get a lot of good value out of this video. As always, if you do, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps out the channel when you do that, and I'd be very appreciative if you did. Before we jump on into it, I do want to remind you of one thing, and that is that the price of CT2A is going to be increasing in 48 hours from me saying this. That means you have all of today, all of tomorrow to jump on in at the current price of $249. The sale is over. If you would like to join the Academy, I highly encourage you doing it right now. In CT2A, you're going to be given a very strong foundation for technical analysis so that you're able to profitably trade and work in these markets, and I highly encourage you checking us out at the link in the description down below. It is worth every single penny, so say our 1,900 students. You can see what they have to say in the Discord down below. Anyway, more on that at the end of the video, guys. For now, though, without much further ado, let's go ahead and dive right on into it. One piece of channel news before we jump into it, guys, and that is that Bybit has reached out to sponsor this channel. So there is now a Bybit referral link down there. I do personally use Bybit when I am leverage trading, and if you guys are interested in signing up, using the link down there will help not only you, but it will also help this channel so that we can continue to grow in the ways that we are doing behind the scenes, guys. I want to make myself very clear here at the outset, and that is that leverage trading can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. It took me 2 years before I was comfortable leverage trading, so if you're newer to the space, don't use that link. But if you do use Bybit and you want to help out this channel, you can use that down below. I won't be mentioning that link very much, but I do want you guys to know it's down there and it will help out the channel. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, guys, we have a lot to discuss in today's video. Bitcoin has rejected quite strongly over the last couple of hours from around $9,200 to $9,070. So let's go ahead and jump onto the chart and take a peek at what's going on. As you guys can see, Bitcoin rallied up to and tested the 20 daily exponential moving average yesterday that was sitting around $9,300. And I was actually talking to someone, Romans, over on Discord, discussing what Bitcoin might do from here because he was in a short position, which he's probably pretty happy that Bitcoin has corrected now. But I told him there are 3 things that we need to see for Bitcoin to establish a new uptrend. Number 1, Bitcoin must get above the 20 daily exponential moving average, obviously. Number 2, Bitcoin must break this level of resistance right here that is constituted by this point and this point. And then finally, number 3, for Bitcoin to enter a proper, technically sustained uptrend, Bitcoin must set a higher high on at least a wick above $9,800 so that we have a trend of higher highs and hopefully by then higher lows. That is the only way that Bitcoin will enter a new uptrend, and right now Bitcoin has done not one of those 3, which means Bitcoin is still in a technical downtrend. As we can see, Bitcoin rejected off of this level of resistance, the 20 DEMA yesterday, and is now headed to the downside. We've also got a bearish engulfing candlestick right here, as our red candlestick so far is larger than the green one. That is not a good sign. A good example of bearish engulfing candlesticks would be this one over here and that one right there. So what does this actually mean for the short term on Bitcoin? Well, guys, I think it's pretty obvious. In my opinion anyway, it means that Bitcoin is heading back to this downtrending level of support, and we should probably be expecting Bitcoin to pull back just a little bit below $9,000. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that $9,000 is a big even, so we might have a temporary bounce there, so watch out for that having a potential bounce and then another correction further to the downside. That's my take on what's going to happen in the next couple of days based on what we can see from the chart right now. But let's check some indicators. First of all, volume. Volume is non-existent right now. Look at that. You see that? No volume. Bitcoin is going to go to the downside because of that. We are also now seeing divergence on the daily chart MACD because of that correction that we saw in today's candlestick. RSI is trending to the downside. Stoch RSI had a cross, which is not good, indicating lower price movement, and the hash ribbons is just being contrarian as it has been for a while. One thing you have to keep in mind with the hash ribbons is that it's a slightly longer term signal. And also, even though we've seen a green cross on the hash ribbons, there has not actually been a buy signal on them yet. Looking at the weekly chart now, there is something very important to take into consideration, and that is that the RSI is trending to the downside, is sitting around 53, not yet in bearish territory, but is getting there. MACD on the weekly chart is looking like it's coming in for a bearish cross, which would indicate probably a month to 2 months of downtrend. Stoch RSI is starting to crash now. This is a big signal, guys. When Stoch RSI starts to make a big move like this, right there, always going to be an important signal. Keep an eye on stochastic RSI out on the daily chart right now. Excuse me, on the weekly chart right now. And of course, the hash ribbons down here are still just being different. Running through all the technical indicators also, guys, shorts are continuing to go down, so too are longs, which means that the overall amount of open interest in the market is going to be relatively low right now. We do still have our bullish golden cross coming in from the 20 weekly EMA and the 50 weekly SMA right now, which will provide bullishness into the future, but that might not even start to kick in for a couple of months. So understand there is still much room for Bitcoin to run to the downside. Guys, that's my take on the short-term market on Bitcoin. I'm expecting us to pull back a little bit more. As I've said about a week ago, I'm expecting Bitcoin to have sideways trading and slightly to the downside. That is what I'm expecting Bitcoin to do. And so far, Bitcoin has not gotten through any one of those three different levels of resistance that it needs to get through to restart an uptrend. If Bitcoin breaks the 20 DEMA, that downtrending level of resistance, and $9,800, our previous local high, then we can talk about an uptrend. Until then, Bitcoin is still in a downtrend. Rapid fire technical analysis. Hopefully you guys like that. Let's jump on to some news. This is where we're going to start on our news, guys. If you type in jobs report today, you're going to find several different articles talking about this. As we talked about yesterday, Q2 has just ended, and a lot of companies are about to start releasing their public reports, and the U.S. Department of Labor has also released some statistics. Unemployment rate drops to 11.1% in June as job growth blows past expectations with 4.8 million added. Now, this is curious. What everybody's reporting right now is that nearly 5 million jobs have been added to the American workforce. And again, I want to make a little bit of a indentation right here. A lot of people are like, yeah, that's American news. I'm from American Samoa, or I'm from Guadalupe or something. I don't care. It's not my country. Guys, everything that happens in America is going to impact the rest of the world. We make up a quarter of the global GDP. It is very important to the EU what happens in America, and there's going to be mirror reflections of what's going on here there. So keep that in mind. But it's really interesting because we're talking about 5 million jobs being added, but 5 million jobs have not been added. 5 million jobs have come back, and that is with some very serious scare quotes as we're seeing case numbers continue to rise, that we may be seeing some kind of second wave. Good news is there are now antiviral treatments on the market like remdesivir from Gilead and a few others that are in phase 2 clinical trials, I believe, but are actually being approved by the FDA under emergency response authorization. Anyway, let's read a little bit of this. The U.S. unemployment rate dropped to 11.1% in June as businesses shuttered by the pandemic earlier this year rehired millions of idled workers. The Labor Department said in its report released on Thursday because of the 4th of July holiday that employers added 4.8 million jobs in June alone, the biggest increase on American record. That is incredible. That was in 1 month. What you have to keep in mind, though, however, is that even though there have been 5 million jobs added, that sounds like a lot. In any normal case, that would be strange, to say the least. It's not really without context. The context for that is that we've lost 25 to 40 million jobs in America, so that's good, but it's only the first step, and that step may be undone if the cases pick back up. We're about to tie all this back into Bitcoin, but it's important that you guys understand fundamental economic news right now, as it is having a big impact on our favorite cryptocurrency. What the article goes on to say is that the DJI and the SPY have pumped because of this, and in fact, if we look at their markets, they most certainly have. As we can see here on the weekly chart for the S&P 500 ETF trust, then we're seeing that the SPY actually bounced off of the 20 weekly exponential moving average, while volume is down from the overall capitulation we saw, which is just disgusting looking. Look at that. Volume is still actually up. If we look at the daily chart, we can see that we're having a pretty substantial bounce ever since June 29th, a few days ago, and we have opened about 2.5 percentage points higher than where we closed yesterday. The economy seems to be having a stable march towards recovery, but I warn you guys, first of all, the whole pandemic thing is not over. There is a second wave more than likely coming, but also many times recessions can take anywhere from 2 to 24 months to actually start. Just because we're having jobs come back does not mean that literal trillions of dollars of economic loss is not going to have a major impact on the global economy moving into the next 2 years. So watch out, because just because we're having jobs come back now, just because the unemployment rate is coming back to below 10%, which would be very good, we have to be very careful, because many of these economic forces that we've been dealing with since the beginning of this year take time. For example, the real estate market, it's going to take time before you start seeing hits to residential real estate and especially commercial real estate. As far as Bitcoin is concerned, this is a very good thing for the long term on Bitcoin, because what it shows is the weaknesses and the chinks in the armor of fiat currencies and the global economies, and it highlights the reason that Bitcoin was created in the first place. We're talking decentralization, private custody of money, so that you don't have to worry about it being lost. You don't have to worry about inflation. We're talking, at least in the medium term, resilience from global economic catastrophe. As we've seen, Bitcoin has outperformed every single other market. I said including gold a few videos ago, except gold. Bitcoin has performed exceedingly well. Guys, all of this to point the excitement and the exuberance back to Bitcoin, our favorite cryptocurrency. This is all a very good thing for the long term on Bitcoin. You can't print $7 trillion worth of Bitcoin out of thin air, because the amount of cryptocurrency, the amount of Bitcoin being produced every 10 minutes is locked into place, and it has been ever since January 3rd, 2009, when the Genesis block was mined. If you're looking for a currency that is stable and not able to be tampered with for the short-term benefit, taking from and jeopardizing the long-term global financial security that we've just done with the US dollar by printing trillions and trillions of banknotes, Bitcoin is the place to look. Here's something interesting, guys. The US Federal Reserve and many other banks in the world have just printed about 2 years of tax revenue in banknotes. We've printed around $6 to $7 trillion in quantitative easing over the last 4 months, and the IRS only takes in about $3 trillion every single year in tax revenue. So what's the point of me paying 20, 30, 40% in taxes, including self-employment taxes, income taxes, sales tax, all these different kind of taxes? What's the point of me paying all these taxes if we can just print money out of thin air? While I'm not a doomsday soothsayer about the global economy, I don't think the Federal Reserve is run by the boogeyman or anything, and I don't think the global economy is going to collapse in the next 72 hours, because I'm not really one of those guys who's trying to get you all hyped up and worried about the global financial market just collapsing and us going into Armageddon or anything. We've been through worse, and we will be in the future. I'm not trying to get you scared like a lot of people in this space will, but it would be naive of me not to point out certain flaws in our current financial institutions, one of which being needing to print trillions and trillions of dollars in quantitative easing to save the current in spite of the future. I think 21st century humanity has gotten economics nailed more than any other currency, any other civilization in the history of humankind, but there are still improvements that can be made, and that is where Bitcoin comes in. So yes, I do think Bitcoin is heading sideways into the downside over the next couple of weeks until I'm proven wrong. That's exactly what Bitcoin's going to do, but take heed to the fact that Bitcoin is still very young. The internet, people don't realize this, was founded in 1969 with ARPANET. There were 3 connections, one of them in Silicon Valley, California. 12 years later, 12 plus 69, you know what year that is? That's 1981. Where was the internet in 1981? Any of you guys who are in your 50s or older might tell the people down in the comment section down below the internet was unknown unless you were at a university in 1951. Why do we expect Bitcoin to be a global industry when the internet was not a global industry 40 years ago? Bitcoin is 12 years old. When the internet was 12 years old, there were not very many people using it. Give us 10 years. We'll see where we're going, and I'm very excited to find out. Anyway, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. I hope you did enjoy today's analysis. If there's anything you would like me to talk about, please tell me in the comment section down below. Anything I missed, anything you want me to cover, let me know down below. I love reading your comments, and I absolutely love responding to them. There's over 100,000 comments on this channel, and I've read every single one of them. It takes a while, but it's definitely worth it. And guys, one thing I do want to mention is that CT2A, like I said, is going to be increasing in price in 48 hours. If you'd like to join the Academy now before it goes up $50 in price, I would highly encourage you to do that now. There are people charging a couple $1,000s for academies and courses here in the cryptocurrency space, and I've been told by people that have gone through them that they have less content than the Academy that I sell, CT2A. I'm serious, guys. For 1/10 the price, you're going to get more content. That's a no-brainer right there. If you're interested, join us with the link in the description down below. Anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it out for today's video. Before I go, though, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.